So welcome to part 2 of my look at Inception. Where do we leave off?
You promised!
Right. I can't help but think there are some unresolved problems here. So with that awkward moment behind us, we can finally get on with the operation. Seems the elder Fisher has bought the farm, and why not? He's bought everything else. So it's time to take a flight in order to go and take their flight. One thing about jet-setting dreamwalking, you really have a massive carbon footprint. The big concern is this flight takes them to Los Angeles, and not many people know this, but LA is in the United States.
If I get on this plane and you don't honor our agreement, when we land, I go to jail for the rest of my life.
But if you can't trust a billionaire who wants to destroy the competition by invading their mind, well, who the hell can you trust? So they hop on the plane, drug Fisher, and it's time to start living the dream. Except it is really coming down in there.
Couldn't have peed before you went under, sorry.
Bit too much free champagne before takeoff, eh, Yusuf?
That's a thought. 10 hours is a long time to hold it if you have to pee. Is that going to be a problem? Because it'd kind of diminish the victory if they all wake up soaked in their own urine. They steal a cab, which they then use to kidnap Fisher, but you don't have to worry about the morality of any of this. That cabbie's not real. Cobb and Ariadne are on their way in their own car. One thing about the elder Fisher, he made the trains run on time. To make matters worse, the taxi gets attacked by guys with machine guns. If needing to pee makes it rain, what do you suppose makes you spray out hundreds of little bullets? I couldn't possibly imagine the answer to that one. They managed to escape, but Sato is shot during the gunplay, and back at their hidden lair, Cobb is irate that Arthur missed the kind of important detail that Fisher had been trained so that his projections would be militarized. You need a different level of preparation if you're dealing with an infinite army of mercenaries. Just saying. The reason that this is such a clusterfuck is that the sedative requires them to go so deeply under that dying in the dream means you don't wake up. You instead fall down into limbo, where they'll wind up getting head screwed. Have you ever had it where you needed to sit in a waiting room somewhere and it was slightly too bright and slightly too warm, and there was no sense that anything was moving forward? You had nothing to keep busy with at all, and to top it off, the only TV set was set to a cable news channel that was showing stuff just this side of propaganda. Well, imagine 100 years of that, and then thinking that whatever's left of your psyche is going to be dragged back up at the end to inhabit the cottage cheese that was once your brain. So it's pretty bad that the guy who's paying them to take this risk is mortally wounded. I won't be able to really sign the checks at the end. So, with no other choice but to plow ahead, they start questioning Fisher about a safe. And in the other room, Eames pretends to be Browning and acts like they're beating the crap out of him trying to get the combination to the safe. Then he tries to see if Fisher would know, but Fisher says there's nothing meaningful between him and his father.
After my mother died, you know what he told me? Robert, there's really nothing to be said.
He was bad with emotion.
I was 11.
And it's always hard when they're ready to leave the nest, but you can't spoil them, can you? Browning explains that in the safe is a will, another will, the one legally stamped no takebacks, which would break up Fisher's corporate empire.
At the end, he called me to his deathbed, and I can only make out one word. Disappointed.
Well, that could mean anything. Speaking of hard truths, Ariadne says that she knows Cobb is responsible for that train showing up. So he explains about when he and Maul were exploring Limbo, where they lost sight of what was real. They created their own little world down there, and they lived for half a century and all that. Maul was obsessed with staying, locking away the little top so that she could pretend that this is reality. When they finally woke up, she couldn't accept that the waking world was reality anymore. The only choice was to commit suicide and wake up. Well, Cobb was not on board with that plan, and she didn't want to leave him trapped in a dream, so this had to be a double suicide, which she has strategically plotted for their anniversary.
Mom.
Come out onto the ledge or I'll jump right now.
This is one weird supervillain plot. Maul explains the plan. She's arranged things so that if she commits suicide, everything is going to look like Cobb murdered her. The perfect plan for an extremely narrow situation. Really, most of the time, marriage counselor or divorce lawyer are a much better choice than overcomplicated suicide.
Sweetheart! Look at me! Oh no! Jesus Christ!
Third worst anniversary ever. Now before this, Cobb wasn't a crook. He did this for purely scientific reasons. He's taken to doing it for profit to earn enough money to buy his way back into the country. In another film, this could be a cynical idea to say that the rich could buy their way out of murder. But it's worrying if the guy making the movie is worth $250 million and he says that. Then you gotta start worrying if he reached that conclusion from first-hand experience. Oh man, if only I had $1 million for every corpse I chopped in half with a chainsaw in a motel room. Oh wait, I do. Well, things will have to speed up because the armed and dangerous projections are closing in. So Cobb puts on a mask, points a gun at Fisher's head, and demands that he give Cobb the first 6 numbers that pop into his head. After that, we're going to need you to select a card at random from the deck and seal it in this envelope. Scum! They drug Fisher, again, and load him into their van so they can get ready to go into the dream within the dream. On the road this time. Should have really brought a party bus. Make it fun. So, while Yusuf does the high-speed chase without them, they head into the next layer of the dream, in a hotel. Eames is playing the hot blonde at the bar there. Oh, you might recognize her from Doctor Who. She was one of the travelers with River Song in Silence in the Library. Oh, she is also one of the robots on Westworld. Like I said, I'm really bad with names, but I never forget a face. The plan here is to pull a trick that they call Mr. Charles. No connection to me, believe me. As previously established, I apparently exhaust all of my lateral thinking, symbolism, and creativity features during the day doing this job. So that by the time I go to bed at night, my brain just throws whatever tired bullshit up that it wants. Last month I dreamed a big spider was biting my leg. True story. Woke up to find a spider had bitten my calf in 5 different places. I'm frankly surprised that it didn't just have the dream be me in bed getting bitten by a regular-sized spider. I mean, that was award session level for my dream center, that lazy bastard. So Cobb is playing the role of Mr. Charles as part of a dream gambit, wherein you make the subject aware that they're dreaming, but then tell them that you're part of their own subconscious and there to help them. While that's going on, Eames is using the wallet that he had stolen off of Fisher while he was in that disguise in order to keep the projections occupied with trying to recover it. Take the wallet, throw it away, they'll chase it. Deep down, your subconscious thinks it's a dog. Cobb convinces Fisher that he's here to help, but there's a wrinkle. Cobb, stop getting people to kill themselves around you. What is your deal? Cobb helps Fisher remember that he and Browning were kidnapped and thrown into a van by some people who want to know the combination to a safe. They use the combination to guide Fisher to a room to confront the projection of Browning that Fisher himself has brought in. This stuff gets weird, okay? And I frankly don't know how Nolan skipped the whole walking around naked thing, other than he's classier than I am. Browning arrives at the room where everyone is waiting. Now remember, he's a projection of Fisher's subconscious, so this is because Fisher is suspecting that there is something more going on, thanks to a little prodding from Cobb.
Fisher Morrow has been my entire life. I can't let you destroy it.
I'm not gonna throw away my inheritance. Why would I?
I couldn't let you rise to your father's last taunt.
We can't destroy the company on a triple dog dare. He says the will is just old man Fisher insulting his son, that you couldn't make a company if it came in a cardboard box with Betty Crocker stamped on the side. So Cobb says they should reverse the situation. We'll go into Browning's subconscious to find out what he doesn't want Fisher to know about this. But in reality, we're going to be going into Eames's dream, and like Fisher would know the difference. I highly doubt he knows how to change a toilet roll with his background. In this dream, they're in an icy alpine setting trying to get into this fortress because we're badass. You can see this when Yusuf goes off the road and rolls the van. It's like if Lionel Richie was a waistcoat-wearing ninja. Compared to that, needing to ski into that stronghold looks like a breeze. This is also the response you get if you blow into a horn and yell, Ricola! The problem is Yusuf doesn't have a lot of experience with this craziness, and he gets stuck on a bridge with some bad guys shooting up the van. He decides to call this quits early and drives off the side of the bridge. No, not to worry, this is all part of the plan. This is not another in the long string of suicides that follows Cobb around. It's just, he's going off a little bit earlier than he's supposed to. Pixie dust! So while Arthur tries to figure out how to make everyone fall without gravity, nifty trick if you can do it, Sato is taking Fisher in through a secret access to get to the vault where Inception's going to happen. During this, we're at that point in the film where the excitement music is happening, and there's a lot of people being shot, punched, and getting clotheslined while skiing. All this dream theory stuff is really interesting, but in the end, a lot of us just came here to watch a man drive a boat into a helicopter and other action hero kind of stuff. Ariadne does ask, though, if they're destroying parts of Fisher's mind by killing the projections, and that's a pretty valid concern, actually. They're not, by the way, but it would be good to know that the good guys are not, slowly lobotomizing the guy here just because it's a job. So while Arthur gathers everyone up, plus the suitcase that's allowing for this group dream, and then wraps everybody together with phone cords so he can push them up the hall, just another day at the office, down below, Fisher slips into the area just outside of the vault. But that's when Maul finally arrives, like a cutscene encounter with inexplicable summoning. Luckily, though, Cobb has her in his sights. Yes, lucky thing, otherwise she might have shot him. So, bit hard to do Inception with Fisher being dropped down into Limbo, but Ariadne figures they can follow him, kick him back up here, and finish the job. Eames will stay since this is his dream, so he's got to look after it. Don't want to be one of those deadbeat dreamers, after all. Anyway, down in Limbo... Oh, another waste of the economic potential of beachfront property. So while everyone else is driving trucks off bridges, working with explosives in zero-G, or fighting off waves of mercenaries with assault rifles, Cobb has to go in and deal with his psychological issues. Way to ruin the job with your baggage, dick. Cobb explains on the way up that the reason he knows Inception works is that he did it to Maul by accident. He planted the idea in her mind that Limbo wasn't real, to eventually get her to kill herself and wake up.
You're waiting for a train.
It leaves New York at 9 a.m. going west at 70 miles per hour. Now, because of the way Cobb had done that, Maul wouldn't stop believing that the world wasn't real, even when it was. That's why everything happened as it did, why she could fool 3 psychiatrists. Her psychosis was in a very specific place that she knew to lie about to everyone but Cobb. Aside the fact that she thought the entire universe existed only in her imagination, totally sane. The Maul down here is a manifestation of the guilt about accidentally driving his wife to suicide, and she wants him to atone by staying down in Limbo with her forever. So he says, okay, but you have to let us have Fisher back.
You can't stay here to be with her.
I'm not.
Fooled you! Maul does not take that well and responds by stabbing him. Did I mention this lady has issues? Ariadne thus shoots her, and then pushes Fisher off the ledge. Not often that so many of your problems can be solved by a killing spree. This combined with the shocks on the Alpine level brings Fisher back, so he can finally go into the vault that we've been heading for all this time. Inside is the old man saying disappointed over and over, just in case you missed it the first 1,000 times, kid. Old Man Fisher explains that he's disappointed his son tried to be like him. It's a real bonding moment with the guy, and the sign it's time to get the duck out of Fudge. All the kicks are set off, bringing everyone back up to the falling off of a bridge level where it hits the water, except for Sato, who finally succumbed to his wounds, and Cobb, who's staying behind in Limbo to try to find him and bring him back. And that's where we come back at the very start of the film, remember? We're about 5 minutes before the end credits start. Yeah, pretty damn long flashback if you ask me. So Cobb winds up meeting Sato as an old man, since the way time works in dreams is kind of goofy, and it really gets serious when you get down to the lower levels there. Cobb eventually remembers why he came down here. It was to remind Sato that Limbo isn't real. There's a real world out there where you're young and crazy rich, and you just stuck it to your biggest competitor by screwing with his kid's head. I mean, that last one alone's got to be worth going back. So sure enough, they wake up on the plane, and Sato calls to tell whatever senator or governor he needs to make sure their little murder problem goes away. Actually, I personally like to think that this was an arrangement that had been made ahead of time with the knowledge that it was in the U.S.'s best interest for this company to break up, and then they'd sort out this problem if Sato could confirm that it happened. I don't know. I find it slightly less cynical to think some alphabet government agency was working with Sato and he just said to them that he saw it happen. If the government is letting accused murderers off, I'd just like to think that it was out of patriotism rather than greed or blackmail. That's all. I'm just a romantic at heart. But yeah, Cobb makes it through immigration just fine. He's greeted at the airport by Michael Caine, and hey, that's worth it right there. Then he goes home and finally gets to see his kids' faces. It's a rewarding ending, except the little spinning top is not shown to be falling over. Oh boy. That is a serious ending. So I'll discuss that and all the other serious stuff related to the film in the serious video where I sequester all the serious stuff. Seriously. You can check that out below if you want for discussing Inception.